Hello my friend and welcome back. Today I'd like to do a little card pull and see what kind of message the universe has for us today. I feel like I say this every time, but it's so funny because if you've been keeping up and watching these videos, you will see that we're actually kind of pulling the same cards over and over again. And I just think it's such an interesting way because this is I think like a 44 card deck. And when you continue to draw the same kind of cards, it is just the universe reinforcing those messages. And I think it's like so interesting and mystical because, you know, there are some cards in this deck that I have never drawn, whether it be for personally or for these videos. But for these videos, we're getting the same cards, and that is not by mistake. It is not by chance, because let's remember that there are no coincidences. And if you didn't know that, um, there are no coincidences. And that concept is enforced in a lot of different books. I think that Deepak Chopra actually kind of explains this the best. I have the book, The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire, and he talks about how there are no mistakes and there are no coincidences in life because the divine is everything. Everything is coordinated and everything is connected. And sometimes a coincidence isn't meant to always be a sign, but it always wants to reinforce that connectivity. For example, if you are thinking about someone and then they call you, that is not a coincidence. That is showing how powerful your thought is, because science is starting to explain it as like these like networks, and it seems like around us it looks like this air is nothing, but it's actually like tons of different networks that are actually physically connecting us, but it's just something that we can't see. So when you think about something or someone and they call you, or you think about something and it appears, that is the universe proving to you how connected you actually are. That a mere thought could have you produce something in the physical world. And I think that once we start to understand that there are no coincidences, that we really get to see the magic of life and how magical things actually are. And I love that. And I love the coincidences and seeing the synchronicities. It just, kind of just reinforces everything that I'm talking about, that a lot of other spiritual people are talking about, that the books talk about. You can, do all the learning you want. You can do all the sharing you want. But until you actually start to see some of these concrete examples, it doesn't really reinforce it. And that's why I kind of laugh and love that I feel like almost every time I'm doing a card pull that we're pulling a card that we have pulled and talked about before. Although I feel as though I really want to connect, and I feel sometimes maybe we don't get the full message at first, or sometimes it is just reinforcing the message that we got before. Or sometimes, I have a new viewer and we get a new viewer for this video and who didn't see this card before but really, really needs this message. So, with all of that said, we drew the Priestess card. I love this card. I love this deck. It's such a beautiful deck. I say that all the time. So it says, how are you being called to step up and lead? It's no secret that we're in trying times and that we're in changing times, and we can view it as something negative. We can view it as, oh my goodness, everything's crazy. There's a meme going around that says, I want to go back to precedented times. Because it feels like, every day is like something's happening that's unprecedented, and, like, let's go back to precedented times. Well, newsflash, we're not going back. And I don't know, like, I'm never shown the future, so, like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I really don't, like, get feelings towards it. And I don't really experience any clairs towards the future. That is just not a part of my intuitive gifts. So with that said, like, I have no idea how things are going to unfold. And like I've said before, it feels like we're kind of like in this shitstorm of change. And I say shitstorm in the most loving way. But we are in a time of massive evolution. Massive evolution in a way that we have never experienced before. Like, yes, consciousness is always evolving, so we have been always evolving. It's not like, okay, there was a certain date that now we start to evolve, and now, human evolution is, now we're evolving. No, we've always been evolving. That is the purpose of consciousness. That is what consciousness does. It evolves, it learns, it grows, it expands, and so, but we have been sent into like a tunnel of evolution, of like express evolution. I keep seeing like being flung down a tunnel that like is accelerating our evolution. So that is the times that we are in right now. So therefore, that's why we are seeing things that, we might only see once every few years, or like, who knows, or never have seen before. That's why we're seeing these things happen right now, because, and that's why it feels like they're happening one thing after another, because along with evolution, we've talked about this before, is healing, because healing is part of evolving. And humanity has a lot of things to heal. Therefore, a lot of things are coming to the surface of healing. We are seeing so many things, down to basic human rights. We are seeing different prejudices come to light, and, that are really causing us to reflect onto society and how we treat each other and what we're doing to each other, and, how we can evolve and move forward. Let's not go backwards. There's a lot of talk about this, I don't want to call it a theory, but a lot of people are kind of putting together something that happened in the past that might be happening again right now. And I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to give any energy to it. But when it's talked about, it's kind of scary. And we're evolving. We don't have to repeat that history. And I don't even think that we need to learn about that history and know about that history and exactly how things happen to not repeat it in the future. What I do think we need to do is we need to heal, grow, and evolve. The other thing I think we need to do, and what, if you're being called to do this, I know you can hear that calling. And I heard the calling for a long time. However, I didn't have the clarity of exactly what that calling was calling me to do for a long, long time. And I hope that things are a little more clear for you. You have a little more clarity than I did, because I spun my wheels for a very, very long time. And I knew that I was called to do something, and I knew that I was being called to help with the spiritual evolution of humanity, but I just had no idea how. And I still think that how is going to evolve for me, but I feel in my heart right now that I am doing the right thing, and I just, need to persevere and keep diving more and more into what I'm already doing. So this Priestess card is asking you to listen to that calling and to listen to your heart and to really ask yourself how right now, during these times, during this time of massive evolution and change and healing, how are you being called to step up and lead? And some of you will already know. Some of you may not. And that's okay. It is okay to explore, and it is okay to learn. You can't make the wrong step, because either you succeed or you learn. There is no failure. Even if you quit, you really can't fail, because who knows, maybe you die and come back to this life again and you do it all over again. So in the real grand scheme of things, there actually is no failure, even if you give up. And not everyone, so being called to step up and lead is not always in the way that you think. You don't have to make videos like this. You don't have to become a public leader. Sometimes being called to step up and lead is being the first person in your generation or your family or your people surrounding you to start to do the inner work, to start to process and heal from everything that has gone on and all of those ancestral traumas and karmas that you are carrying with you, to let them go, because in doing that, you brighten your light. And let's not forget, the light is like the tide, and a rising tide raises all ships. So a lot of times you're being called to lead, we have human attachments to what that means. If you think, well, a leader is someone public, a leader is someone who's putting themselves out there. If you're being called to be that kind of leader, yes, please do that. But not everyone is being called to be that kind of leader. And a leader is not someone that has followers. A leader is someone who does their own thing, who carves that new path, who is that way shower. And sometimes you can be a way shower by purely just being an example, because you never know who is watching you. So you may think, well, I don't have followers, I'm not putting myself out there publicly, I'm not leading. That's not true. If you're doing the inner work, you're brightening your light, you're heightening your vibration, you're breaking your beliefs, the old belief systems and the old constructs, and breaking through the societal barriers that society has put on us in our minds. If you are starting to break through that and break free from that and break those chains just by the way you're living your life, you are a leader, because you are not following the crowd. A leader doesn't always have followers. However, a follower always follows a leader. So you can be a leader and not exactly have these concrete followers, but if you are not leading, you are not doing your own thing, you are not living from your heart, you are not being a way shower and a chain breaker, then you are being a follower. And you may think, well, but I'm following a spiritual person. I'm following a spiritual practice. It is okay to follow and to consume the content and to read the books and watch the videos. However, it is even more important to use your discernment for those things. Like I said, not every spiritual thing is going to resonate with you, and that is okay. You need to pick and choose what works for you. And so you need to be using discernment. Never follow anyone or anything blindly. Always ask your heart. Always go within. Is this right for me? Does this resonate with me? How does this make me feel? How does this apply to my life? And when you start to ask those questions, it gets easier and easier to pick and choose what resonates with you and what does not. And then you need to take all of that, all of those little bits that you gathered, and you need to go from that place. Because ultimately, your heart, your higher self, the divine, your intuition, your guides, they all have that aerial view, so they know, and they are sending you signs about what is best for you. And a feeling is a sign. So, emotions aren't, what I want to say, like a feeling is a sign, but emotions aren't necessarily always a sign. And the reason why, because you get a feeling when you are reflecting on something, when you're thinking about something. An emotion is a reaction, an instant reaction. And a lot of times emotions come from your beliefs. So, and we know that we're working on changing and heightening our belief system. So emotions aren't always a sign. Sometimes an emotion can be a sign that you need to heal something or something is triggering you, but it's not always a sign of a yes or no for you. It's not always discernment for you. So when you are leading in your own way, so when you have, you're compiling all these different things of what does work for you, and you're leading your life in that way, and you're dropping down into your heart, and you're really asking the divine to help me live from my heart today, every moment of today. And you can ask every day, you can ask for the rest of your life, let me live from my heart for the rest of your life. But sometimes that reminder, that repetition of saying it to yourself every day really helps to implement it into your subconscious. And your brain and your subconscious are so smart, they know what to do. When you ask that you want to live from your heart, your brain knows. They're like, okay, we're dropping down. You don't have to, it doesn't exactly have to be on the front of your mind all the time, but that repetition helps. So when you're doing all those things and you're dropping down into your heart and you're living your life from the heart and you're living your life in the present moment and you're taking all of those things that you compiled and you're taking step by step, action by action, moment by moment in that way, that might be different from what everyone else is doing. It might feel lonely, it might feel ostracizing. However, that is the feelings of being a leader. That is how leaders feel. It is a lonely path because you are the first ones to be going down that path. Therefore, yes, it can be a little lonely. It can feel lonely in your human mind, but let's not forget, let's drop into our heart. Let's remember that everything is one. We are all connected. Therefore, we can never truly be alone. And also, don't forget that you have a divine team that is here just to help you specifically. Ask them for help. And sometimes you might not need to feel like when you're feeling lonely, it's not exactly help me not to feel as alone. No. When you're feeling lonely, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask to feel the presence of your guides. Say, I'm feeling lonely right now. Can I feel your presence? Just as I'm saying that, I'm getting the tingle in my nose. I'm getting the tears in my eyes. I can feel that I am not alone right now. I may not be able to physically touch or to physically see. However, that is the human part of me, and your guides are not human right now. Therefore, you can always feel them, but you may not always be able, feel them in your heart, but you may not always, be able to see them, and that's okay. But just because you don't see them doesn't mean they're not there. So that is my message for being called to step up and lead, and I think it actually turned out to be very different than the other messages. So I want to encourage you, because that's what the universe is telling us, to step up and lead in your own way, how you are being called. Because remember, this is a very individual journey. So please start to think and reflect about what is right for you and how you are being called, how your guides, your heart, your higher self is calling you to lead. Because it doesn't always look like what everyone else is doing. And in fact, it's never going to look exactly like what everyone else is doing, because you're not like everyone else. You're individual, you're special, you're unique, you're whole, worthy, and complete, just as you are. And I want to end it there. My name is Anne. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you tomorrow.